Hello everyone, these are watercolor dot cuts I received a few days ago from Streets Art, a local art store based here in Singapore. So these are actually sample dot cuts, not meant for resale. So next time if you go to any art shop, maybe you can look out for sample dot cuts. So today I'm going to swatch out this one, Paul Wang's Color Play Lab set with watercolor made by Daniel Smith. In separate videos, I will swatch out, the other three. So let's start with this. Paul Wang is an artist and urban sketcher based here in Singapore. He also happens to be my friend. So this is the signature dot cut set released under his name. I also happen to have a set released under my name a few years ago. Anyway, these dot cut sets, they are, how should I say, they come and go. So you probably can't find this in a few months' time. So let's see what colors we have here. Cerulean blue chromium, cobalt blue violet, French ultramarine. I'll talk more about the colors when I swatch them later. Hansa yellow deep, indigo, lunar black, permanent Alizari crimson, sap green, transparent brown oxide, and transparent pyro orange. For some reason, they did not include the pigment info, so I had to write it down here on the side for you guys. On the back of the card, we have this quote from Paul. I love Daniel Smith paints because they are vibrant, highly mixable, and creates the most beautiful textures for my sketches. This Color Play Lab palette plays with the idea of attraction and tension. Simply pick and play with any two colors and watch them dance, mingle, and oppose when you mix them. I know these 10 exciting colors will allow you to create a myriad of new mixes that will entice the eyes. Oh, this actually reminds me of his Instagram pages where he actually shares a lot on his color mixes. And here at the bottom you can see his website and his Instagram handle. I'll put the links to where you can find his work online in the video description below. This paper may look like watercolor paper, but it's actually not watercolor paper. It says here that the paper is unsized, so you should use your own watercolor paper. Unsized just means that this paper is not treated to handle water. Let's swatch cerulean blue chromium first. This is PB36, also known as cobalt chromium oxide. This is actually one of my favorite colors. Oops, so let me just wet the paper first before we paint the swatch. There is not a lot of paint on the dot cut, so I don't think you are going to be able to mix any of these colors with other colors. So let's just swatch the colors instead. This is a very beautiful granulating blue, and when you mix this with a cool red like crimson or rose, you can get a really beautiful violet. Next we have cobalt blue violet, which is a mix of PB28 cobalt blue and PB19, probably quinacridone rose. This looks like a purple. Cobalt blue should granulate, so we'll see whether or not this granulates later when it dries. And this is French ultramarine PB29. Hansa yellow deep PY65. This is a warm yellow. By the way, you can find a lot of information regarding pigment and paint on handprint.com as well as on James Blundell's website. I'll have the links to those two websites in the video description below. And this is indigo PB60 and PBK6. So it's probably a mix of indentrum blue and a black. It's a dark color, as you can see. Lunar black PBK11. This should granulate quite a bit. Permanent Alizari crimson is a mix of 3 pigments, and this is the permanent or light fast version of Alizari Crimson, which is PR83. This is a rather classic color. Sap Green, a mix of 3 pigments, PO48, PY150, and PG7. Transparent brown oxide, made with PR101. Now this pigment can be used to make a lot of different colors like transparent red oxide, Venetian red, and many other colors. And this is transparent pyro orange. A really warm orange, incredibly vibrant. So if you want to mix a warm orange, just add a little bit of red to this and you can get like really vibrant orange. Let's take a closer look at the color palettes. Now this paper that I'm using here, it's off-white paper compared to this paper which is obviously bright white. So you can see the colors here are more vibrant compared to the colors that I have here, and there could be some issues with the sizing that also contributes to the colors not looking as vibrant compared to this. But the colors, the paint, they are very vibrant on the right paper. So I like what I see here. Let's just create some color mixes using some of the paint which I happen to have. There isn't much paint left on the card after you swatch out the colors. Let's start by having some cerulean blue chromium. So I'm going to mix this with permanent Alizari crimson to show you guys what kind of violets you can get. Cerulean blue chromium is one of my favorite blues. So this is Alizari crimson. The paper I'm using here is hot press paper, so you don't see any texture. Not as vibrant as I was expecting. Let's try that again, this time with quinacridone rose. So here the color does seem to be more vibrant. What I really like about cerulean blue chromium is you can get color separation, so you can still see the original pigments that were used to create the mix. Next, let's have Hansa Yellow Dip with permanent Alizari crimson. Alright, so this is a much nicer combination, and you can see the Alizari crimson actually pushes into Hansa Yellow Dip. Yeah, the paint actually moves up even though I have the paper tilted at an angle. So you can get this nice red. I guess if you add more Hansa Yellow Dip, you can get a warm orange. So this is really nice. Next, let's have Hansa Yellow Dip with transparent pyro orange. This orange is even more vibrant compared to this. And let's have transparent pyro orange with permanent Alizari crimson. Wow, this is very red. Just for comparison purposes, this is permanent Alizari crimson. So after you add transparent pyro orange, it becomes a deep red. How about ultramarine with Alizari crimson? So this is quite intense. If you have more blue, you can get this purple. If you have more Alizari crimson, you get this on the left. Let's see what's going to happen if you have ultramarine with transparent pyro orange. So blue and orange should neutralize each other, and it does. So here you can see this neutralized color. You can almost get a nice gray here. French ultramarine with transparent brown oxide. too much brown. Let's have more French ultramarine. Personally, I prefer transparent red oxide. So this is the gray you can get with this mix. Let's have cerulean blue chromium with transparent pyro orange. Interesting mix. Sap green is also one of my favorite colors. I usually add ultramarine to it to make it darker. Let's see what happens when you neutralize it with Alizari crimson. And let's neutralize this sap green with transparent pyro orange. And this is how sap green looks with transparent pyro orange. Let's take a look at the color mixes. The first thing to note is the colors here are also more vibrant compared to the color swatches that I painted earlier. So I did not use all the colors. I did not use indigo, lunar black and cobalt blue violet for mixing. I was actually expecting this look when I mixed cerulean blue chromium with permanent Alizari crimson, but as you can see, the mix is more muted compared to the mix with cerulean blue chromium and quinacridone rose. Cerulean blue chromium should granulate noticeably, but here on this hot press smooth watercolor paper, the granulation is not that obvious, so it's a poor choice of watercolor paper that I have used today. This mix of French ultramarine and permanent Alizari crimson looks very vibrant. I actually prefer this a lot more compared to the earlier mix with cerulean blue chromium and permanent Alizari crimson. If you want to mix a vibrant purple or violet, you should use a warm blue and a cool red. In this case, French ultramarine is a much warmer blue compared to cerulean blue chromium. The more exciting colors in this palette are the orange. We have Hansa Yellow Deep, which is a warm orange, and we have PO71 Transparent Pyro Orange, which is incredibly intense. Really great for mixing that red. So when you have Hansa Yellow Deep with Alizari Crimson, this is the red you can get, but with Transparent Pyro Orange, this is really deep red. And with these three colors, you can get really vibrant orange, a huge variety of orange. This mix of French Ultramarine and PO71 Transparent Pyro Orange works really well. You can get this beautiful neutralized gray, and if you have the colors not mixed completely, you can see some really beautiful color separation. Here, my watercolor paper, it's not that great, so you can see the patchy look, but otherwise on better watercolor paper, the colors should blend more gradually and softly. This is a really nice mix. You can still see the two vibrant colors very noticeably. This is a mix of French Ultramarine and Transparent Brown Oxide. So this is the grays you can get. Personally, I prefer French Ultramarine and Transparent Red Oxide, which I think is a more exciting mix, as in you can still see the blues and the reds. This is more brown and darker. On the right paper, you should see some really extreme granulation, but for some reason on this hot press paper, you don't really see the granulation, unfortunately. Cerulean Blue Chromium and Transparent Pyro Orange. This is also quite nice. You can see the vibrant blue and the orange if you don't mix the colors too completely. But even if you mix the colors too completely, cerulean blue chromium is considered a heavy pigment. It will settle below transparent pyro orange, so you can still see some color separation. Transparent pyro orange overall, it's a really nice color for mixing. You can actually mix sap green very easily. Just use Hansa Yellow Medium and French Ultramarine, and you can get a green that looks very similar to this. So this is ultramarine added to sap green. I use this mix to create darker greens like shadows, but if I want like really dark shadows, I would add a red. I usually add a cool red, much cooler than what I have here, which is permanent Alizari crimson. Sap green with transparent pyro orange. Again, you can see the orange really shows up very nicely. These are just some of my random mixes. I should probably interview Paul to see what are his favorite mixes. So out of the 10 colors, the ones that I like are transparent pyro orange. It mixes really well with other colors. I don't have transparent pyro orange in my palette, but after looking at this, I probably may add that to my palette. Permanent Alizari crimson works well if you mix it with ultramarine. You can get very vibrant purples, and if you mix it with transparent pyro orange, you can get this red, so it's a pretty useful color. French ultramarine obviously is a very useful color. Cerulean blue chromium. If you want to use cerulean blue chromium, you really have to choose the right cool red, because it doesn't seem to work as well with permanent Alizari crimson. With the right cool red, magenta, or violet, it can produce some really beautiful granulation and colors. This is one example of cerulean blue chromium mixes. You can see the beautiful granulation on cold pressed watercolor paper. And as mentioned earlier, this pigment is heavy, so when you mix it with other pigments, the blue will settle or separate itself from other colors. So within the mix, you should be able to see two separate colors, which makes the wash look really beautiful. And here on the ground as well, you can see this mix of three colors. I have a yellow, blue, and this red, which I cannot remember what it is. You can even add cerulean blue chromium to green to make the green granulate. If I'm to create a limited color palette out of these 10 colors I can choose from, I will pick Hansa Yellow Medium, French Ultramarine, and Permanent Alizari Crimson, basically yellow, red, and blue. But these three colors have the limitation of not being able to produce a vibrant green because we have a warm yellow and a warm blue. So I would probably add Sap Green as well, because I will not be able to make Sap Green from these two colors. And if I can add another color, I would definitely choose Transparent Pyro Orange. Personally, for me, I prefer to have a warmer color palette. Anyway, I'm going to try and interview Paul to find out what are his favorite color mixes using the colors that he has on this set, and also find out why he selected these colors. So stay tuned for that video, and thanks for watching. See you guys again. Bye!